Today, I f***ed up by drugging the bartender and ruining a wedding. So you know this is gonna be a great one. Ugh, I love Reddit. My wife and I went to her colleague's wedding. I'm not a huge drinker, and I didn't really know anyone, so my plan was to grab some sort of cold, refreshing beverage and find somewhere to post up and nurse it while I got really stoned and did some people watching, which leads to my drugs. Okay. Before we get too deep into it, I know what it's like to be that socially awkward guy at a wedding, right? There's loud music by a band you don't care about. There's a bunch of people going, "Hey, how's it going, man? Good to see you." You don't give a f*** about half the people there. I understand that. But I question the logic and reason of bringing hard drugs, even just weed, to a wedding. But let's see what kind of drugs. On the way to the wedding, I stopped at a dispensary and picked up a reusable vape pen thing. I'm a pretty traditional smoker. Aha, okay. Figured that out. I go to the place and buy an eighth and smoke it in my ancient bowl over the course of the next month or two. I'd never had a pen before. I was just like, I'm going to a wedding and I want something that won't make me sleepy or mentally handicapped. And the young woman at the counter handed me the thing. I don't know why I made him sound like Cheech and Chong, but drugs. As my wife was driving us over, I tried it out. I also don't smoke very much at any one time, and have had a hard time with anything like joints, bongs, etc. Then why the fuck did you buy it and bring it to this wedding? Where did you think this was gonna go right? When I do smoke these things, they hit way too hard and I cough like crazy and hate myself. Then why'd you bring it? So I took a very small hit, noticed it hit really hard, and thought, well, that's because you think everything hits too hard. So you know how you feel about this thing, and you know what it does to you, so then instead of using the logic and reason of just like, hey look, I'll have a glass of wine, I'll sit in the corner, maybe I'll scroll on my phone, and that'll be the wedding, and it'll be okay. I'll be okay for 2 or 3 hours while I get free booze and free dinner. Instead you thought, let me hit this thing that makes me cough, makes me hate myself, I smoke it, and it hits way too hard, and I'm gonna get way too high. F it, let's hit it again, brother. Bada bing, bada boom. Whoa. I'm at the reception standing in line to grab some drinks from the bartender and notice the tip jar. Realizing I don't have any cash, I'm like, hey dude, do you have like Venmo or something? I know, LOL. And he's like, don't even worry about it, man, it's no big deal. And it's not a big deal. You don't have to tip every time you get up and go to the bartender. It's okay. You can just even go back to your table and see if your partner has any money. It's not a big deal. But I'm a service industry vet, so I wanted to find a way to tip him because I know it's going to be a long night and a lot of people won't tip. And you're trying to do a good thing. I respect you for that. But judging from the title of this story, what you're about to do probably blows up the whole wedding. So, like, get the bartender high, find $1 I could give the bartender. So I'm like, all right, man, well, if my wife has some cash, I'll double back over. Yes, good thinking. But it doesn't stop there. But in the meantime, if you like to party, and I show him the pen, he's like, oh yeah? For real? Hell yeah, dude. And proceeds to take an enormous puff on this thing. Within seconds, he was doubling over and coughing uncontrollably. It was incredibly loud, and in under a minute, he was down on his hands and knees behind the bar, puking in the grass. Still, kind of no harm, no foul. What part of no harm do you think you're getting away with here? The guy's like in the process of vomiting everywhere. I call that harm. Hey, if you're enjoying so far, do me a favor and hit subscribe and like. Thank you so very much. Let's continue. He gets up and puts all of his weight onto a tumbler glass that was sitting on the table he used to help himself up, cutting his hand open so badly. Way to go, Nathaniel. You killed the bartender. And then, something very interesting happened. Something that had never happened before. I started vomiting at the sight of blood. So naturally, this is pretty disruptive. Yeah, so you have 2 random guys in the corner of your wedding. Meanwhile, like, the bride and groom are cutting the cake and, like, having all these happy moments. And the groom catches, like, a glimpse of what's going on in the corner, and he's like, what the? So naturally, this is pretty disruptive, and the groom, who just so happened to be nearby, comes over to see what's going on, and fucking faints the second he sees the guy's hand. Jesus Christ. All because you brought weed to a wedding. You suck, Nathaniel. So the groom faints and smashes his head on the bar or table on the way down, his face taking the tablecloth and everything on the table down with him. Totally unmitigated disaster. Both of them have to go to the hospital, and the bride was understandably super upset and screaming at the caterers. So I decided, well, it's been a good life, and began marching over to explain to her what happened when out of her mouth comes a series of very specific slurs directed at the owner of the catering company. I didn't get a single word out of my mouth before she said, "F***ing sue me," turned on her heel, and told her people to just round their up and go. So I kind of agree with what she just said, because even though you're the one that started all this, you dirty, dirty little beast, the bartender didn't have to take some of the weed. They were working. Not only that, they're working with alcohol. So there's already going to be some sloppiness in the event they have a shot or two. You know, like, these things aren't encouraged, but they happen at weddings. They didn't have to take some of the drugs. They chose to. So the bride is understandably pissed. Cue major storm. The storm isn't already major? I'm confused. Everyone is fighting with everyone, and almost all the guests left. I told my wife what happened on the drive home, and she said I should call the catering company and apologize, which I did. The owner laughed for about 30 seconds on the phone before saying, well, whatever. F that bitch. So yeah. Too long didn't read. Don't smoke a lot of weed, get the bartender way too high, causing a chain reaction of vomiting and fainting that led to a racist outburst at the end of the wedding. I mean, yeah. Racism bad, we can all agree with that. You did kind of destroy the bride's wedding and knock out the groom, all because you brought weed to a wedding. But like, let's get to some comments. LilyPad1313 says, this is a masterpiece of a shitstorm. Couldn't agree more. This really got out of hand fast. This was impressive. Cod says, crazy that all of this could have been avoided if you just had $1 in your pocket. See, you cheap f***. All you had to do was go get $1 from your wife. You stinky little hobbit. Sadop says, as a former wedding bartender, I now feel so much better about every disaster wedding I worked. But you can't just drop this in and not tell us what happened. You have to have a story. Oh, look, even Rustmutt says that. You must have some stories, and I want to hear your best. Please, please, please. Please do. I'm going to follow up on that. We're going to follow up on that. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. My name is Rory. If you did enjoy, please subscribe, click like. If you have any funny stories for me to react to, please feel free to link it down below. And speaking of links, the one to this story is in the description of today's video. Ooh, I can't wait till the next one. Okay. We're getting ahead of ourselves. If you guys want to see another funny video, I've linked it on the end screen. Check it out. I'll catch you guys next time.